Chapter 236 of Jujutsu Kaisen is a good chapter. The fanbase are just a bunch of babies. Reactionary babies at that. Please hear me out. Nothing that I'm about to say is controversial. If you are a Gojo fan, you are going to be happy with what I discuss here. Probably. I have read JJK week to week for about 2 years now, and I haven't seen a more hated chapter. If you aren't caught up with the manga, I suggest that you go and read it, as I will be spoiling the entirety of the story. You have been warned. To understand why this chapter is hated, let's take a step back. Chapter 236 is the end to the most hyped fight in the entire series between Gojo, the strongest modern sorcerer, and Sukuna, having lived 1,000 years in the past. Both get hyped up throughout JJK as the strongest by the story and by other characters. This isn't a David versus Goliath story. This is Goliath versus Goliath. Good versus evil, Pepsi versus Coke, yada yada. The fight started out equally in round 1 and quickly devolved into a one-sided beatdown in round 2, with Gojo being declared the winner at the end of 235 by his allies. 236 has a jarring start, with a teenage Gojo talking to his high school friends. But this is not a flashback. It appears that Gojo is reminiscing with his friends in the afterlife, or perhaps in a dream brought on by him passing away. Gojo starts talking up Sukuna, the King of Curses, by saying that he was insanely friggin' strong and that he wasn't giving it all he had. Worse yet, Gojo states that he honestly doesn't know if he would have won, even if Sukuna didn't steal the 10 Shadows technique. This had the community up in a firestorm of vitriol and anger. Gojo is uncharacteristically glazing Sukuna to the point where he is contradicting the events of the fight as they unfolded. I vehemently disagree with this sentiment. Sukuna used 100% of his effort to kill Gojo using the techniques he was willing to reveal, i.e., the 10 Shadows, Malevolent Shrine, Cleave, and Dismantle. Sukuna could have easily died if Gojo was 1% better, or if Maharaga didn't adapt in time, or if Gojo got a 5th Black Flash. But that wasn't the case, and it cost Gojo. Just think about it like a Street Fighter tournament. You are matched with a killer Ryu main. You pick Zangief, but they go Dalsum, surprisingly. All the rounds are razor close, ping-ponging back and forth, with both players giving it their all. But last round to take the set, they win with a sliver of health. You can have fun and be proud of your performance while still being frustrated, not knowing if you could beat their main. Did they go Dalsum to counter you, or to BM you? What is Sukuna's main curse technique? Could Gojo have dealt with it? That is the frustrating part. Gojo said that he doesn't know if he would have won. Not that for sure he would have lost. Gojo's character is not reduced because he gave Sukuna his flowers. It shows that Gojo is a stand-up guy who isn't a sore loser. You have to remember that this is the first time that Gojo lost a one-on-one where he wasn't weakened before the fight. Another point of contention is the fact that Gojo was essentially called a pervert who was a sorcerer not to protect people but to get his own kicks. And I mean, this is unambiguously true. Look at his fight with Captain Magma and tell me that he isn't getting some perverted thrill out of this. Look at this face. This face precedes this. Here to here. What about this? Or how about this? What about that? Gojo has always been a selfish person. You get the feeling Gojo wants his students to surpass him, not to save the world, but as a selfish plea to have people on his level, to understand him. That doesn't mean he has no love for his friends or his students. In his last moments, Gojo thinks back to the time when he had the most fun, a time when he wasn't separated from the rest of the world due to his immense strength. This chapter shows Gojo's ties to people, to his humanity, and to the world at large. It's really a sweet notion that his friends always did understand him. Their roasting of Gojo is not to put him down, but to show that he is loved even through his faults. Both Sukuna and Gojo needed to be selfish to reach the heights that they achieved. Gojo states that he alone is the honored one, once he ascends above the modern world of sorcerers. Sukuna never had to state this himself. It was self-evident. The narration goes as follows. Throughout heaven and earth, he alone is the honored one. Only his pleasure and displeasure exist. Putting these two quotes side by side, who is the most selfish here? Gojo nearly killed the King of Curses as a human, but he was never favored. Sukuna discarded his humanity to seek out his own desires unimpeded. Gojo lost because he had to fight Sukuna alone. None of his allies were strong enough to fight side by side with him and would have just been in the way. Gojo took up so much space that no other character could climb to his heights. There was no obstacle that he couldn't handle alone, so everyone relied too heavily on him. With his death, a void has been created for the rest of the cast to occupy. Gojo losing unexpectedly is not bad writing, it's just a really effective gut punch. What is bad writing, however, is the way Gojo was killed. I've read like I've read like 5 translations of Sukuna explaining how he killed Gojo, but I still have no idea what it means. Is Sukuna able to cut space itself now? Why was that a thing that he could just do? When I read the leaks of the chapter, I assumed that Sukuna was manifesting his slashes inside of Gojo's body. Infinity works as an all-encompassing shield around Gojo, but if the attack is inside of him, Infinity couldn't defend against it. Or at least that's what I thought. This was something that happened in Bleach, and it did not create the fan outcry that this explanation caused. Ambiguity is a potent tool for storytellers, but there is no way the author Gege intended for this to be so freaking confusing. If you weren't confused and know how Sukuna killed Gojo, please do so in the comments. And if you like this video, please subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Bye.